Hello, 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 and welcome to the College of Creation. My name is Dan.
And my name is Michael.
And we are Dungeons & Dragons DMs who love to homebrew items, spells, creatures, and features for D&D. And we're back at it. It's happening again. Back to the normal grind.
Yeah.
On this show, we make new things every single week based on prompts that we get from our community. We roll on our big table of homebrew prompts that are submitted to us, and whatever comes up, Michael and I have to figure out what to make of it. And this week in particular was so vague and so
very
meta and weird and
Mm-hmm.
like a really left field thought that it took me a while to figure it out.
Yeah, it was quite strange, and I didn't hate that about it. Once I found what I was going to do with it, I really liked this prompt a lot. But I agree. It was a very strange kind of cerebral type of prompt that you had to really let kind of simmer in your brain before any type of direction came out.
Yeah.
So I effectively had half the time to work on this because it took so much time to actually land on a starting point.
Same. To remind our listeners, the prompt that we rolled for last time was monsters or creatures inspired by game terminology. The things that people talk about when they talk about D&D, like the terms that we all use when discussing TTRPGs, which is a wide variety. I had to look up a glossary of terms because
it's a massive list.
There's so many things that people that have made their way into the vernacular that people use as shorthand for this or that behavior or this or that playstyle or this or that function of the game. So I thought of a million things, but it was a lot to try and figure out.
Yeah, more of a challenge to pare down this week than it was to produce ideas, I think.
Yeah. Now, not all of them can be like really effective inspiration points for creatures, right? Like
I did think that was very clever, right?
Yeah.
You could use terminology to make items all day because mechanics are written for items. It's much more difficult to put that into the stat block of a monster, and that was very cool.
I was thinking of interesting game terms, especially like really niche and obscure game terms, to try and find a way to create inspiration. I just couldn't figure it out though. I was trying to find a way to make Echo work. And I just I couldn't make it happen.
Really, the thing that I tried to center on this week was just making monsters that were not similar. Because I also looked up a glossary of terms, and I think that my ideas for a lot of them, by and large, were within the same spheres, and I didn't want that to happen. So I think that the ones that I like the most are the ones off on their own islands. And I think that I landed on the four of them that I do enjoy, that we'll get to once I present.
Yeah, I think that it also took me a while. And like I said, I looked up some glossary stuff to find ones that might be interesting. And came up with what I think are some sort of fun ideas. Another thought that I had in the process of making it, I don't remember if the prompt specified monsters or creatures, but a thing that came out for me when I was making this was I ended up making something that has a stat block like a monster, but is kind of designed to be an NPC. Like you can utilize it as a combatant, certainly, but it also has functionality as more of an NPC. And I think to build a side quest in a certain region based around it could be really interesting and fun. And I like that. I like that a lot.
We love bonus build-ins.
Yeah.
Things that just happen because of what we make.
Yeah.
We had it with the monk feats. We had it with the Spectre of Hutt's Castle.
Mm-hmm.
We just Those extra things are always great. Yeah.
It's very cool, and I do really like making my NPCs have their own interesting flavor and abilities and stuff like that, so that the people that the party is interacting with aren't just a bunch of commoners, but are actually like unique people in their own right, and also aren't necessarily people who have character classes, but
Right.
have their own sort of thing that they do.
Yeah.
That's a big part of how I story design as well.
I say we should just get right into it.
Yeah. Let's definitely get into it then. I think I went first last time, Michael. So why don't you tell me what you came with today?
So my theory going in this week, I didn't want to use a lot of things that were in game, certainly not things that were common terms. So I went with things that were exclusively created by and for the D&D, the TTRPG community. So if you want to open your document, I call this the Monsters of the Metatextual.
Nice.
I have 4 blocks here, all based off of terms that originated from the community itself. So nothing here is in the handbook or the DM's guide or anything like that. Starting with,
I'm looking just at this first page here, and these are so much better than mine. These are great.
My first one is called the Power Creep. The term itself is in reference to the fact that over time, things within a gaming system get more and more powerful to kind of satiate fans or players of said game. And while that is true, that is a thing that happens, there isn't really a linear way to measure that. It's always kind of erratic. And I wanted to make a very simple, very linear model for the power creep. So this is a tiny monstrosity. Any chaotic alignment, it has a 10 armor class, hit points, and speed, as well as a 10 for all of its ability scores. So it's a modifier of 0. And its modifier for all of its attacks, saves, damage rolls, anything like that, also 0. So one of its features is called Progressive Power. Every round that elapses after rolling initiative, the power creep gains the following bonuses. That's a +1 to all attack and damage rolls, skill checks, saving throws, ability scores, and its armor class. So it steadily goes up by 1 in all of those categories every 6 seconds. Also, every 6 seconds, it gains a +10 to its walking speed and +10 to its maximum hit points. So it progressively gets stronger, better, faster, more powerful, more accurate every round that elapses that it's within combat. It also has a feature called Feed Off the Dead. If the power creep reduces another creature to 0 hit points, it grows in size by 1 size category. So it starts as tiny, but it can get up pretty big if it ends up being really powerful. And every time this ability is activated, the base damage of the power creep's needle and scratch attacks, which are just very basic 1d4 melee attacks, those attacks increase by 1 die size. So if it starts rampaging, it can get very powerful very, very quickly. So I'm thinking like pack tactics for this, right?
Yeah, this is a swarm monster.
A wall of power creeps. They're very weak. Like if you can deal with them within the first or second round of combat, totally great. But if you're going 4, 5, 6 rounds into combat and these start, downing party members, or felling other monsters, if they just take out their own friends for the sake of gaining power, these can be immensely dangerous. So that's the power creep. That's my first one.
I imagine the sort of alpha, as it were, just like slamming the tiny ones against the wall in order to get bigger and bigger.
They pick one. They pick one, and that could just protect the one guy while he is able to chew through the competition.
Such a fun encounter that like seems really harmless at first. Seems like these like little annoying like tiny like bug things, and then it's like it very quickly becomes like oh no.
Oh god, yeah, it's a blink and you are running away from it type of encounter.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like 80s or 90s, like uh monster comedy sort of movie vibes.
Yeah, yes,
Ghostbusters
yeah.
or Gremlins-esque, you know?
Yeah, it sits right on the fence between horror and
That's great.
humor.
I love it.
So that's the power creep. My next one down the list, I call this the glass cannon. It is a literal cannon made of glass. It is a large construct, typically lawful neutral. And the idea with a glass cannon, if you are not aware, it is a very powerful source of damage, very minimal health.
And usually a very low AC as well.
Usually, yeah, very
Easy
low
to hit,
AC,
not a
low
lot of
health.
hit points.
Yeah, exactly, but massive damage output. So that's exactly what it is. We have middling scores hovering between 8 to 12 here, except for intelligence, which is an 18, and strength, which is a 30. It is immune to poison and psychic damage, but it is vulnerable to thunder and bludgeoning damage.
Mm-hmm.
And it has one action. It can take an attack. It's a plus 15 to hit with a range of 15 to 40 feet. And on a hit, it deals 5d12 magical bludgeoning damage. It can also cast Scorching Ray twice a day and Fireball once a day. And it only has 29 hit points and an armor class of 11. Again, if you can get the jump on this quickly, it's not that bad. But if you let it go 2 or 3 rounds, a couple of these can really mow down a party pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I can imagine this being a very useful, siege weapon or something similar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I wrote descriptions for all of these, and I didn't read them. So the power creep. Born from the unstable arcane experiments held within the old order of wizards at Arcanotech Industries, power creeps are abominations with progressively evolving genetics. When provoked, the power creep can rapidly and uncontrollably mutate its body to become bigger, stronger, and more threatening to its enemies. Once it senses that danger has passed, it will begin the process of returning to its original size and power level. So I did add that last part in, so they don't just stay like hulking giant terrors for the rest of their lives. Yeah. They will eventually shrink back down to normal size.
That's very good. I like this so much, and that you brought back Arcanotech Industries. It almost demands that you and I write an adventure module within the world of Arcanotech Industries.
We have enough stuff now. We may as well just create our own setting, I feel like.
I'm down.
And then the glass cannon. These rigid constructs have been mass-produced at Arcanotech Industries for years, unfit for long periods of combat, but well-equipped to pack a devastating short-term punch. A glass cannon is the preferred sentient weapon of the general of the modern age. They are inexpensive to build, easy to train, and difficult for hand-to-hand combatants to approach. So that's the glass cannon. Moving on to page 2, I have the skill monkey. A tragic Arcanotech laboratory fire years ago resulted in the explosion of several chemical compounds. Though none of the scientists caught in the blast were killed, they were all permanently polymorphed into primates. These creatures still go to work like everyone else, and what they now lack in height and physical strength, they make up for in an enhanced and more universal intellect. So this is the skill monkey stat block. These are small beasts, relatively unaligned. I suppose that could be up to DM discretion. Armor class of 12, 9 hit points, a speed of 20, and a climb speed of 20.
Nice.
Again, middling stats except for intelligence, which is a plus 6 or 23. Very high. Resistant to psychic damage, intelligence and wisdom saving throws are their proficiencies. And then under skills, I have See Below. So their only feature is called Universal Expert. The skill monkey is proficient in every skill. At the beginning of each day, the skill monkey chooses 3 skills to gain expertise in until new skills are chosen the next day. Ooh. So it's always revolving. Yeah. So they're good at everything, and they can choose specific universal experts. They also have a bite attack, which is pretty standard, but they also have an analyze action. And this means the skill monkey acutely observes one target within 30 feet that it can see, forcing an intelligence saving throw. That's a DC of 13. On a failed save, the skill monkey learns one of the following stats about the target. So they can learn any vulnerabilities or resistances, any senses, its monster type, or any current conditions. So it just takes its turn to assess the target and learns a piece of information, and that's it. So they are just there to provide some assistance, some support to the rest of the party, I guess. You could use this as an NPC, I suppose.
For the listeners who might not be aware, skill monkey is a term used to describe a type of character that is not necessarily focused on combat or RP or whatever else, but is primarily focused on being proficient in and successful at as many skills as possible. Rogues and bards are great for this particular build because they gain expertise and have things like reliable talent and jack of all trades features. So they tend to be able to be a reliable hand at basically every skill, which means when there's a call for a check from the DM that the party needs to make, everybody points at the skill monkey and says, skill monkey, you do it.
Take it away, bard. Yep.
Great. Wonderful. Now, this is a term I don't know, this last one.
So this one is an edit. This is based on the term. I did not like the term itself, so I changed it for the actual PDF. This is based on the term murder hobo, which is problematic in and of itself, but I think that kind of idea to describe players is a bit antiquated and just not helpful in any modern discussion of TTRPG. So I changed that. This last monster is called the Vagabond of Violence.
I get it now.
Vagabonds of Violence once were typical humans, living in a peaceful rural town until Arcanotech began building their buildings up the river. Runoff from dangerous and failed experiments began contaminating the crops of these towns, leading to the crazed and rabid behavior of the inhabitants. Vagabonds of Violence now travel far and wide, attacking other creatures without warning or purpose. Medium humanoids, typically chaotic evil, I suppose. Again, this could be up to DM discretion how you want to use this. An armor class of 14, roughly 45 hit points, speed of 30 feet. This is going to be your typical-ish, your typical humanoid. Again, middling stats, nothing crazy. Charisma is pretty low, but other than that, everything is kind of standard. They do have proficiency in athletics, intimidation, and survival. They have one feature. It's called One Track Craze. In combat, the Vagabond of Violence only attacks the creature closest to it, regardless of affiliation. So they are agents of chaos, 100%. Throw them into a combat, and if you can get far enough away, they'll just attack each other, and they will not chase after you. If you're running away from them one-on-one, they will chase after you, though, without fail. They will track you down forever. They have two actions. One is a cudgel, just a melee attack. And then the other one is a rabid bite attack. On a hit, the target is poisoned. For every hour the target remains poisoned in this way, it gains one level of exhaustion.
Ooh, interesting.
It is a cumulative effect. So you might escape the fight, you might escape the combat, but if you don't have a way of reducing poison, you're in for a worse effect in the long term.
I like all of these very much. I also enjoy the wordplay. I tried also to get the wordplay to work, and you will see that we do have some crossover here.
Love that.
I did not land it as cleanly as I think you landed it here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I like all this a lot. The power creep, I think, is really quite excellent. Really big fan of that one. And yeah, I do like a fully rage fueled, completely insane chaos monster. Did you consider making the rabid bite into a rage bait, and instead of exhaustion, the poisoned condition forces you to act similarly to them, and also
that
attack
would be so good. I did not think of that. That's such a good idea, though.
Well, hey,
when we update these, whenever that might be, I think I'm going to keep the bite, but I'm going to add that in too. maybe a separate save
Something
or
maybe.
something like a higher DC maybe. So because that feels pretty powerful,
Yeah,
but
does.
maybe it's more of like a disease or a curse where it's more ambiguous, where I can really explain exactly what I want.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, though. That's a good idea. I'll have to think on that.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? What about you?
I didn't have as clear cut a concept as you did here. I gotta be honest. This prompt in particular was a tough one for me to land. I think because of how vague it was. So
Yeah.
like I said, I wanted to do something like that wordplay that I think you landed really cleanly, but I had a hard time figuring it out. I only came up with two ideas that I ended up being like, okay, that works. That feels fun. Let's give it a shot. See what we can make. So you can open up your document here, and you will see at the very top there that I have also made a skill monkey.
Okay. Perfect.
It does function fairly differently, though.
Okay.
Monkey see, monkey do is the premise here. This is a medium beast, this skill monkey. Neutral aligned. It has an armor class of 13. It's got 39 hit points.
It's a beefy
speed
monkey.
Of 30 feet. It's got decent stats across the board.
Yeah.
Reasonably strong, but very dexterous and very perceptive as well. It understands all languages but cannot speak. Notable. And I tagged here its proficiency bonus because it will be important for the DM to be aware of what its proficiency bonus is. But it has this primary feature, which is fast learner. When a creature within 60 feet of the skill monkey that the skill monkey can see and hear uses a proficient skill, tool, or weapon, the skill monkey also gains that proficiency for 1d4 days.
That's such a good mechanic.
So anytime you use a weapon that you're proficient in, anytime you use a tool that you're proficient in, or a skill that you're proficient in, the skill monkey also becomes proficient in that same skill, as long as it can watch you do it. And then it just makes it's got a multi-attack. It makes 2 slam attacks or 2 weapon attacks with a proficient weapon. So, if you have a longsword and it makes you drop your longsword and has seen you use it, it also knows how to use a longsword.
That's great.
It can figure it out. It's using its feet and its hands to do all kinds of stuff. And that's it. But I really like yours as well, and it almost feels like we could push these 2 skill monkeys together into like one creature that's like, there you go. Now this is the skill monkey.
Yeah, this is great. I do have a question.
Yeah.
Because so you gain the proficiency for 1d4 days. Mm-hmm. That could be, depending on how much the monkey actually witnesses have happen, that could be so many things that you have to keep track of.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's a way to streamline just like during a short rest or something, you can sit the monkey down and be like, pay attention to all of this stuff real quick.
Maybe.
Because we're just gonna front load you with a bunch of skills and then roll once, and then that set of skills for the next 1d4 days.
Yeah.
I feel like this would be a nightmare. Like, so we have perception for 3 days. We have my longsword and my short bow for the next 2 days.
Yeah, you probably do want to figure out some kind of way, but I hadn't really decided upon the creation of this whether it was friend shaped or not. I think it could really run either way.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
Hard to know. But yeah, I think certainly if it is designed to be a companion, then certain changes would need to happen so that you're not just
right.
having a super overpowered skill monkey. But it's also noteworthy that it's not proficient in armor of any kind. Like, it can't just watch you wear armor and then be proficient in armor. It is active
That's
things.
true.
It's skill, tools, and weapons. So you can't put armor on it, and it only has the number of hit points that it has. So, it's also not super beefy. Like, it could be a really good skill monkey, but it wouldn't be all that effective in a lot of other ways as a companion. So, maybe on the second pass, maybe on the compendium rerun, we can figure it out.
No, I think this is great. I think it looks really good.
And then on the second page here, we have some NPCs that I have created here. This is Minnie and Max.
I love that.
Minnie and Max are
so
a duo of fae. Minnie and Max, of course, coming from the term min-max or minimize, maximize,
Yes.
A style of play in which there's a bunch of different kind of definitions of it. Some people define it as minimizing downfall while maximizing
Output.
positive results and output.
Yeah.
Some people are like, you minimize something in order to maximize something else. So you're always giving something up to maximize what your primary focus is. Either way, it is primarily, players who want to make sure their character is as, powerful in a certain direction as possible. So they kind of game the system itself, which is also what these creatures do. There are many strange and amorphous creatures under the categorical umbrella of the Fae, known for their trickery, their cleverness, and their unpredictable nature. Minnie and Max can be encountered wandering the Feywilds, challenging travelers and other Fae to all manner of contests, somehow shockingly adept at all of them. The smaller Minnie, who resembles a blue-tinged goblinoid, seems to whisper into the ear of her partner Max, a hippo-like beast with fluffy white fur and ape-like limbs, that provides him the secrets to best any opponent. Whether it be strength, wits, stamina, or quickness, the duo is rarely bested, but they still seek a worthy challenger. So,
this is fantastic.
Minnie is a small fae. She has an armor class of 14, but has an armor class of 16 while occupying the same space as Max. 45 hit points, speed of 25. And statistics go 10 strength, 16 dex, 12 con, 18 intelligence, 16 wisdom, and 14 charisma. To start with, at least. No major, other... notable things of resistances or immunities or anything like that. But she's got a couple of features. She is a companion, so Minnie can occupy the same space as Max by riding on his shoulders. While she does so, she has half cover, and she can use her reaction to cause any effect that would target only her to target Max instead, or vice versa.
Nice.
Additionally, she has a small amount of innate spellcasting. So her innate spellcasting ability is intelligence, and she can innately cast the following spells requiring no components. She can cast guidance at will, and then also has 3 per day each. She can cast enhance ability and silvery barbs. And then her only action is to optimize. Twice per turn, Minnie can reduce one of her own ability scores or one of Max's ability scores by 2 to increase one other ability score by 2 for Max or herself respectively, to a maximum of 22. So she can take away from herself to give Max a bonus. She can take away from Max to give herself a bonus twice per turn. So she's always shifting the actual ability scores of the two of them to better maximize what is necessary for the situation. Mm-hmm. That is her only action that she does on her turn, is just either cast one of those spells or optimize.
I love that.
And then we have Max. Max is a large Fae who has an armor class of 15, including his Fae breastplate. Hit points 75, and a starting strength of 18, dex 12, con 14, intelligence 11, wisdom 12, and charisma 10. Again, no major resistances or anything else like that. But he does wear Fae armor, so Max gets to add his full dexterity bonus to his armor class while wearing his breastplate instead of a maximum of 2. So, if Minnie chooses to up his dex really high, he will get a higher armor class bonus. So for now, he only gets a +1 bonus to his breastplate base 14 armor. But if that gets raised, he can go all the way up to 20 and beyond, right? And then he has a multi-attack. He can make a number of weapon attacks equal to 1 plus his dexterity modifier. So again, if she beefs his dexterity higher and higher, he will get more attacks and things like that. And he has a vicious longsword, +7 to hit to start with, 9 slashing damage, and additionally has bonus damage if he rolls a natural 20. So an extra 7 slashing damage. And that's just a, PHB magic weapon that felt like a decent maximize weapon because Ideally, Mini will be casting Enhance ability and giving him more and more opportunities to hit that natural 20.
Right.
So it's all about maximizing, one or the other's output in any particular direction. Again, these are two that I thought, well, they can function as combatants, but it also would not be unreasonable for you to encounter these two if you are traveling in the Feywild. And they just challenge you to like a race.
Right.
Or they challenge
right.
you to a game of wits or something else, right? Like they are not particularly concerned with what the contest is because they're fairly certain that they can beat you at any of them. And that just felt like an aggressively Fey thing to do, is just like, you pick the game.
Yeah.
And then I will still win because I've been
and
able
we're
to
going to beat you at your own game. Yeah.
maximize our ability to succeed.
This is just, it's such a clever representation of min-maxing. I love the physical representation of it, having two halves that have different functions within the partnership. That is brilliant. And then the functions of each of them synergize so well, and they need to be together. The beauty of this is that they are detrimentally weaker on their own.
Oh yeah,
and it's so good. I want to run a game where two players just use these stat blocks.
Oh, that could be really
play
fun.
as these two characters.
That could be fun.
I would love that. Just a total stat block game. Maybe with our stat blocks from today, we'd have a little tiny one shot where everybody takes one little guy and goes on a little monster adventure. These are fantastic. I really like this.
This is very much the kind of like monster duo that I would love to have a co-DM sort of situation, running a table as two DMs, so that you take Max's stat block and you can like RP, or you can RP as Mini, or I'll do what Mini says as the like DM who's running the world, but it gives these two people something to play off of instead of one person doing all of that work. A little more collaboration. Which I hear more and more examples of co-DMing around in podcasts and things like that, and I just think it's so fun.
Yeah, I love it. It feels very couch co-op.
Yeah, very much so, right?
I like it a lot.
So those are my Fae. Those are my terminology-based creatures, like your Arcanotech lore that is slowly developing so much.
Yeah. Eventually, I'll have a whole source book. Yeah, just
we'll do it. We'll make a module. We'll just make an adventure where you go and explore the like abandoned Arcanotech facility.
Yeah. And that's where the Spectre comes in.
That's where the
Spectre
down in the basement is. That's where all of these other little monsters and old tech.
Yeah.
Vagabonds of violence somewhere in like the catacombs beneath.
Yeah, exactly.
The glass cannons.
It's been overrun. Mounted up on the parapets. Yeah.
Or like you walk into the factory, the factory floor that had just is like lined with glass cannons that like spring to life as you pass through the hallway. Terrifying.
The lobby of Arcanotech has a giant omni magnet with all the little magnets going around.
Oh my goodness.
This is all connected. We
got to write a module now, man.
We need it. We need it.
So good. Well, that's great. That's great. Big fan of the whole the larger universe that is being created here.
Beneath the surface, it's always there.
This one did not draw that same level of inspiration out of me in terms of like thematic content, but I'm so glad that it did for you.
Yeah, it was slow on the uptake, but I think I got to a really nice place by the end. I liked that. I had not intended on including Arcanotech or even linking any of them at all until just a few days ago, and I looked at all of them and I said, I think we could probably rope all of these together and also call back to a previous creation all in one fell swoop.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm glad that it worked.
That's great. Well, I tell you what, Michael, this was a very fun time. Are we ready to roll for next week?
Yeah.
I will pull up our large table of homebrew prompts here. Homebrew prompts created and given to us by our community. If you have a prompt that you think it would be fun for us to tackle and make, please send it to us. We'd love to have more things to add to our large table. You can send us an email at collegeofcreationpod@gmail.com, or if you want to, you can come on over to the Patreon. You can join it for free, see all of our creations, past, present, and future. Michael, what are we rolling today?
Today we are looking at number 9, Dan.
Number 9 is going to be modern technology as magical items.
Does this invite more Arcanotech lore 2 weeks in a row?
It very well could. I have to imagine that is a strong possibility.
Yeah, they probably have some technology over there.
That's pretty good. This is from Charles Bobarles on the Discord, by the way. So thanks,
Charles.
Charles Bobarles. If that is your name.
I would assume that it is.
And
it seems
if it
legit
is,
to me.
Thanks, Charles. Thanks, Chuck.
Always a pleasure, Chuck Bobarles.
Charlie. Great. Yeah, modern technology as magical items. That feels like another really open-ended one.
Yeah, very very reminiscent of this week.
Yeah.
In a different way. Items are fundamentally different in the creation process than creatures. So I think it probably lends itself better to items than this prompt was for monsters. Still very interesting though, and very ambiguous. It'll be interesting to see how quickly we center on a starting point this week, because it seemed to be pretty slow for both of us.
A tricky one, certainly.
Not a bad prompt though.
We'll see how long it takes me to figure it out. In the meantime, very delighted by the stuff you brought today.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see what you bring next time. Michael, you have something to say to the people before we say goodbye?
Dan, I have something to say to the people every time before we say goodbye. I think, and I assume Dan also thinks, coming up on a very important day for our country, and that is the 2024 presidential election. I would urge you all, if you are not already registered, to go online and register yourself to vote. Can't be overstated how important it is to voice your opinion on a national level, and also delineated down every level of the political scale, down to your hometown. Wherever you live, wherever you're listening from, elections on every level of government can be very important and very impactful for your lives, your friends' lives, your family's lives. Politics is confusing sometimes, and boring sometimes, and egregious sometimes, but that should not dissuade you from trying to make it a little bit better. And I hope that you would decide to do so, regardless of your affiliation, regardless of your ideologies. I'm sure it has become relatively apparent where Dan and I stand. That is irrelevant in this statement. Please just go out in November and vote. Keep things going for our country, because we have a great place to live here, and I would love for everybody to keep on contributing to that.
Couldn't agree more. Get yourself registered to vote. Find a registration event near you, or go online, check your status. We can include a link in the notes to a website where you can see your status. You can see if you're registered to vote, and you can see what it takes to get registered in your state. Lots of states make it really nice and easy. A couple of states make it a little bit harder, but it's very important to do it, to get yourself out there, to make your voice heard. It's a privilege that a lot of people have not always had. And it's something that is really important down ballot. The things that are going to affect your life the most are the things closest to you, and you have a chance to make your voice make a real impact in your communities. So I would absolutely urge everyone to go ahead and do that. Well thought and well said, Michael.
Thank you, Dan. And for everyone listening, we appreciate you as always. We hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And we will see you again next week.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Hey everyone, Michael here. Thanks for listening to this episode of the College of Creation. If you want to see our creations from this episode and all of our past episodes, you can find those for free on our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/collegeofcreationpod. If you feel like supporting us further, you can become a patron and access a few bonus recordings, like top 10 lists, D&D related games, and conversations that were cut from full episodes for time. If you have any questions or a homebrew prompt you'd like to see Dan and I tackle on the show, you can send those to collegeofcreationpod@gmail.com. And our intro and outro music is by Fuserwolf. You can check out his content on Bandcamp and Spotify. Again, thank you all so much for listening.